Cool. So let's get started. So, so today's class is about generative AI core or generative AI fundamentals that I have already taken yesterday. But I think most of the people were out, so I thought I'll repeat this session again because I haven't recorded yesterday's session. So far, what we have done as part of this specialization program. So we have completed Python, right? After that, we have also completed machine learning. We have also completed deep learning. And now, currently, we are about to start GenAI fundamentals and GenAI concepts. So, what we are going to cover in GenAI, I'll be showing you in a while. After GenAI, we will be covering agentic AI, and then we are also going to see popular agentic AI and GenAI frameworks like LangChain, LangGraph, and Crew AI, and we will do hands-on session. I'll do live hands-on coding, and we will create live AI agents. And after that, I will be covering the Gen AI governance or AI governance, I would say. But specifically for Gen AI, what exactly needs to be done as part of governance, we will be going to cover that. And then I will also cover the Gen AI adoption roadmap in any organization. And last but not the least, so one founder insight session I have promised you guys. So uh, it is about mindset engineering. So how do you engineer your brain to basically improve its cognitive ability? So we are going to see that. How do you basically switch from one brain wave to another brain wave as per the task in hand? So we are going to see that in mindset engineering session. So as of now, we are at this stage and we are starting GenAI fundamentals. Now, as part of GenAI fundamentals, what exactly we are going to see? So first of all, we are going to see what is GenAI, right? So it's a buzzword since last 2 3 years, and most of the uh, career shift is happening around generative AI. So it's applicable in every domain, whether it's software domain, networking domain, or even apart from software, outside the software, also in government sectors also. Generative AI is something which is, uh, becoming famous at a very fast pace. And you should be knowing the Gen AI fundamentals right from the beginning so that you can, easily adopt the uh, advanced topic as well, right? So, what is GenAI is something that we are going to see, and then we will see what are GenAI models, and then uh, what is GenAI architectures. Why I am referring these terms specifically is that because people often get confused between GenAI model, GenAI architecture. So we are going to see what are these. And then there are few other things so which I'll directly cover in the slides. So let's get started with GenAI. Okay. Okay, cool. So about GenAI. So if we are, if we talk about the definition about GenAI, so what is GenAI? So GenAI, first of all, is a AI, right? And there are two terms in GenAI: generative plus AI. So AI term is there. So for sure, it's a AI. It revolves around AI. And generative means the AI that generates new content. So in machine learning, deep learning, we have seen that the models that we make, they predict, right? They do some prediction. They are trained on some data set. They learn from that data, and finally, the aim or the final motto for training those model is the prediction, right? Now, in terms of generative AI, the final aim or the final motto is generation. So generation of new content. So this generated new content is either for direct human consumption or machine processing. So what we can do about with this new content, there are two things that we can do. Either the humans or user directly consumes it, or it is further used for the machine processing. So the example of direct human consumption is something if you are writing on chat gpt, so it generates new content, right? It every time generates a new content. It is not fetching from somewhere, unlike google, right? So google, what it do, it basically I mean the content is basically served on it saved on the server, and it fetches that and show that in a pagination manner, the pre-decided content. But in Gen AI, the main difference between Google and Gen AI or Chat GPT generated content is that the content that gets generated on Chat GPT is new content, and it is generated dynamically. And regarding machine processing, so sometimes what happens in the complex Gen AI systems, you are generating some content, and then generated content acts as a input to the next layer in that particular application. So that's why it is said that the generated new content is either for the direct human consumption or machine processing. Now, the generative AI is a concept which is inspired from human capability of content creation. So I think I have already covered it, but let me revise that concept again. So uh, first of all, this is the outer circle. Then this is the inner circle. Then and okay. So what is this? So this is AI, right? What is this? This is ML. Then this is DL. DL means deep learning, and then we have Gen AI. Okay. So AI is a superset of every other concept, right? So AI contains ML, ML contains deep learning contains Gen AI. So we can say that deep learning is also machine learning, and deep learning is also AI. Similarly, Gen AI, we can say that Gen AI is also deep learning. Gen AI is also machine learning, and it is part of AI. So this is how subsetting of these individual concept look. Now, I have also shown you that AI is basically inspired from what exact concept? So it is inspired from human intelligence, right? So we are comparing the digital counterpart with the real world or human counterparts. Machine learning. Machine learning is inspired from what? Machine learning was inspired from human learning, and learning from what? From experience. And I have also shown you that human do learn from experience. Similarly, machine also learns from experience, but their experience is the training on the data set that we provide to them. Yes. Okay. About deep learning. So deep learning, from where the deep learning is inspired? So deep learning is inspired from um, human brain like learning pattern, right? So how the human brain neurons, biological neurons are present in the brain, how they connect to each other, how they, transfer or transmit the information between each other. That's how, from this particular concept, the deep learning concept is inspired. And we have also, seen the artificial neuron, how we build that artificial neuron, and how do we build the deep learning systems. Now, about Gen AI. So Gen AI is basically inspired from human creativity, or I would say human content creation ability. So like human create new content, human can create new content. Similarly, in digital counterpart, Gen AI also creates new content. So this is how the AI landscape looks when we fit in Gen AI in this. Okay. Okay. Now, talking about important terms in generative AI. So there are three important terms in Gen AI. First is Gen AI architectures, then we have Gen AI models, and then we have Gen AI models. So in these two, this is MODELS and this is MODALS. Now these, it's very important to understand what these terms mean and what exactly, I mean, different terminologies which comes under these different terms. Because what happens, people interchangeably use the word. so they basically switch among these three words and they interchangeably use. So let's see what these terms mean. Regarding GenAI architecture. So GenAI architecture basically refers to structural blueprint of GenAI system. So when I talk about a structural blueprint, so it's the architecture or a blueprint based on which the GenAI systems are made. Now, what are GenAI architecture? Different GenAI architectures. So different GenAI architectures are transformer, GAN. GAN stands for Generative Adversarial Networks. VAE stands for Variational Autoencoders, Diffusion Models, and Autoregressive Models. So whenever you hear about GenAI architectures, so you can relate that GenAI architecture. So there are 5 GenAI architectures based on which different GenAI models are made. So this is about GenAI architectures. The next term is GenAI models. And when I'm talking about models, I am referring MODELS, models with E in it. So GenAI models. So you guys have already learned that when we were talking about models in ML world, right? Machine learning. So models are basically the learned or the final mathematical formula that gets built after the training is done, right? So similarly here also GenAI models are AI systems and trained instances built using the GenAI architecture. So you are basically building some GenAI system, and that GenAI system will be built using some GenAI architecture. And once the system is finalized or built or the training is done, the final instance of that particular GenAI system is known as GenAI models. So what are GenAI models basically? GenAI models, uh, LLM, right? LLM is an example, large language model. So this is the most common example. Chat GPT and various other LLM based chatbots. So those are basically those are basically built using LLM, large language models. Second is image generation models. So image generation model basically used to generate or create new images. Then we have audio or speech generation model, video generation model, and multimodal model. So multimodal means where you can generate text, images, audio, video in any combination. So this is about GenAI models. Now, before we move to GenAI models with A in it, MODALS, I want to show you one line so that you can remember and we can discuss it after 5 minutes. So GenAI takes in vitamin C and generates vitamin C. Okay, so this line holds uh, I mean, a tricky significance, which I'm going to cover in another 5 minutes. But yeah, I just want to show you this line so that you don't forget about this line when we will be discussing it in 5 minutes. So GenAI takes in vitamin C and generates vitamin C. Now coming to GenAI models. So models here, MODALS. So model basically refers to type of data, MODAL. So in grammatically, if I'll talk, so it is basically the type of data is basically referred by the term modality, but MODAL gives more intuitive meaning to the whole GenAI concepts in the whole GenAI concept. So that's why I'm using the word MODAL. So MODAL model means the type of data. Now, if we talk about Gen AI models, so Gen AI model means the type of data that Gen AI system can take in and generates as an output. And it is divided into two categories, input models and output models. So when we talk about input model, it means the type of data generative AI takes as an input, and output model means the type of data Gen AI system generate, right? So there are two possibilities only, right? If we have the Gen AI system, if this is a Gen AI system, it can take in some data as an input, right? So this will be input and it will generate some, output. So it is output. Now, type of data that it takes as an input, it defines input model, and type of output that it generates, defines or is known as output models. So this is what model means. Okay. Now coming back to the old, uh, coming back to the old slide, right, where I've shown you that GenAI systems or GenAI AI systems basically takes in vitamin C and generate vitamin C. Now, what is this vitamin C? Let's see that. So first of all, VI. So VI basically stands for video. T basically stands for text. A stands for audio. M stands for multimodal. Multimodal means the hybrid of all the other data. Multimodal, MODAL. I stands for image. And N I will cover in some time. Let's see what C stands for. So C stands for code. So in any Gen AI system, these are the different data types. These are the different data that Gen AI system can take in as an input, right? So you can provide video as an input, text as an input. So most common thing that we provide as an input is text, right? We chat with we talk with the chatbot and we are writing something. So most common thing that we provide as an input to Gen AI system is text. But videos, audio, images, code are something that we also provide the input to the GenAI system. Now, talking about N. So, N basically stands for, any guesses? Anyone wants to guess what does N stands for? Any rough guesses is also fine. Deepak, any guesses?
And for neural, as far as I know about this.
Okay, no. So N basically stands for numeric and system data. Okay, what is numeric and system data? So this is the data produced by some system. And when I'm talking about systems, so what are those systems? So when I'm talking about systems, so those systems can be the sensors, right? So data generated by sensors can act as an input. Then machines, different machines, right? And different computational systems, different devices, different monitoring tools. So there are monitoring tools and different, health related or medical equipments are there, right? So those are the sensors, devices, or monitoring tools that generate numerical and system data, and that data can act as an input to a GenAI system. So that's what N stands for here, numeric and system data. Now, let's talk about the output that it generates. So far we have seen what kind of input it takes. Now let's talk about the output it generates. So VI stands for same thing, video. T stands for text. It can generate text. It can generate audio also. M stands for multimodal. Multimodal means it can generate text plus audio plus video, in any combination as an output, right? I again stands for the same thing, image, and C also stands for code. Now, before I cover N also here, so out of these data that it generate, the basic output format, so basic output format or primary output format, I would say, basic output format in GenAI system that it generates are text and images, audio, video, and code. So these are basics, and if we collectively we collect these basic output format, then based on this we can say these are the type of Gen AI. because in literatures available on internet, in books, you will just see what are different types of GenAIs. So I just wanted to show you that the types of, when we talk about types of GenAI, so types basically covers the basic output format that GenAI system generates. And then the types of GenAI may, they basically mention text generation, image generation, audio generation, video generation, and code generation. Okay. Now let's talk about N in the output, GenAI output that it generates. So N here stands for next gen capability generation. What is next gen capability generation? So when we talk about next gen capability generation, it basically includes uh, okay, before that, why the next gen word is used here in this particular uh, definition? Because next gen is used because it's more advanced than basic content generation. Because basic content generation is simple generation of images and text, right? So that falls under basic generation. But next generation word is used here because it is more advanced than basic content generation, and these are the structured data generated by gen AI system that is meant for computational processing, simulation, or further workflow. Now, when we talk about next gen capability generation, so what type of different generation, next gen capability generation is there? So, molecule or protein design generation. So, nowadays, scientists are generating molecule and protein design using GenAI capabilities, and it generate new molecular structures. Then we have simulation generation. Simulation generation. Simulation generation means generating new simulation environments. And then agentic AI. So agentic AI that we will be, as part of next module that we'll be studying. So agentic AI is also part of next gen capability generation. Why? Because in agentic AI, the AI agents generates action, plan, tool call, workflow. So generation of action and plan is also something which comes, under the category of next gen capability generation. And then we have 3D or spatial model generation. So what is 3D or spatial model generation? So it basically, GenAI system nowadays generates new 3D object or environment based on the prompt. So you are providing prompt that, okay, generate me the 3D structure or generate me the 3D 3D apple. So it will generate a apple in a 3D format, and it will, that particular 3D generated, object will be the next gen generation using the next gen generation capabilities. And one another example is on demand VR generation from prompt. So you might have heard the word virtual reality, right? So whatever virtual reality that exists, the traditional virtual reality. So you wear one, what do you say, virtual reality headset, and you are able to see the virtual reality and anything related to virtual reality. But in next gen AI generation, uh, nowadays, you can generate the VR using prompt. What I mean is that, so you are providing prompt that generate a virtual environment, and you will give all the description of what kind of environment you want to generate, and it will generate the virtual environment through your prompt. So that also comes as part of next gen capability generation. So this is about GenAI models, MODALs, input models and output models, which you can remember by the line that GenAI takes in vitamin C and generates vitamin C. Any doubts before we move forward? Okay. So this is the basic of, data around GenAI. Now, next thing is next thing is A to G. Coincidentally, our cohort name is also A to G, which stands for agentic and applied and agentic GenAI, right? But A to G stands something different here. It is any to any generation. So A to G, that means any to any generation with respect to GenAI. What does it mean? Let's see that. Okay. So we have some basic data formats, right? So text, image, audio, video, code. So these are basic data types, right? Or type of data involved in GenAI. Then let's write it again: image, audio, video, code. Now, what does A to G says, or any to any generation says, is that so this is input, this is output, right? So from text as an input, you can generate text also. You can you can generate image also. You can generate audio also. You can generate video also. You can generate code also. Here your input is text, but you can generate all of these. Similarly, if your input is image, you can generate text from that image. You can again generate an image from an image. You can generate audio from an image. You can generate video from an image, and you can generate code from an image. Similarly, from audio, video, code also, you can generate all these basic formats, output formats. So that's what A to G means, or any to any generation means. Means you can provide any type of input, any type of data as an input, and you can generate any type of data as an output. So that's what A to G means, any to any generation. Okay. So I have taken some of the use cases here, uh, where I have mentioned input and output. Every possibilities that I have just shown you sometimes back, right? Any to any generation. So for example, if you are taking text as an input, then from that text you can generate text, image, audio, video, code also. If input is image, then from that image you can generate all other data types or all other data formats. Similarly, if the input is audio, if the input is code, if the input is video. So any to any generation. This basically covers any to any generation. Let's take some of the examples from this particular, slide. For example, you are giving text as an input and you want to generate audio as an output. So the use case involved here is text to speech narration, right? And 11 Labs is the tool which basically do that. So what it basically do, you are providing your prompt in text and it generates the audio from that prompt. Let's take another example. For example, from image to video means you are providing image as an input to GenAI system and it is generating video from that image. So animate the still image. I don't know how many of you might have used Sora or Runway tools, but Sora is a very famous tool where if you provide just an image, just a still image, it will convert that still image into a video or an animation. So that's an example of GenAI system taking in image as an input and uh, providing the video as an output. Let's take another example. Let's take the example uh, of audio to code. So voice to code generation. So what happens is that so you are providing some instruction to, and the tool used here is Copilot Voice. So to Copilot Voice, you are telling, okay, generate me a code to add two numbers, and you should also catch all the possible exceptions. So this I'm just instructing the Copilot Voice, right? So my input is going as an audio here, right? And once that audio goes into Copilot Voice, it will generate the code as per the instruction that I have given. Another example, um, let's say video to audio. So in video to audio, you are providing a video and then it basically extract the narration, or it basically adds the music as per the scene shown in that video. And Descript is the tool by which you can do that. And let's take, last combination here where you're providing input code as an input, and you can generate text, image, audio, video, code. For example, let's take this particular use case. You are providing code as an input, and output should be audio. So what use case falls under this category? Spoken walkthrough of the code. So you are providing your GitHub repository or your whole code to the GenAI system, and it will walk you through to that particular code step by step, file by file, directory by directory. So spoken walkthrough of the code is another example of code to audio generation. And 11 Labs is the tool by which you can achieve this. So this is about A to G, any to any generation, because in generative AI, input can be anything and output can also be anything. But so far, many people just think that text can only be the input, because 90% of people who are using generative AI nowadays are using simple chatbots, chat GPT, or Anthropic Claude, where they are providing just the text, right? So people by default think that only text can be provided as an input, but no. Apart from text, other type of data can also be provided as input, and similarly output can also be any of these data. Cool. Let's move to the next topic. It is GenAI model metrics. So GenAI model we have already seen, right? So GenAI model means the type of data. Now if we'll see here, the data type, these are the basic data type, right? Type of data, right? Text, image, audio, video, code. Similarly, text, image, audio, video, code in the output also. Now, what does model metric says that? So it talks about, so metrics, when I'm talking, it talks about numbers here. Numbers. So numbers or I would say combo in data combo in input and data combo generated in output. Okay. So when we talk about input, so total input you can give to chatbot can be one or more than one. So one ka example we have seen in the last slide, right? So where we have taken, see here the data is only one, right? You are just giving the text. You are just giving the audio as the input. You are just giving the code as the input. You are just giving video as the input. You are just giving image as the input. So that's what this particular category says. So whatever we have seen in the previous slide is the unimodal input. Unimodal means just one type of data we are providing as an input. Now we have something known as multimodal input. So what is multimodal input? So the input where the data type can be more than one type of data is known as multimodal. For example, if we give our chatbot as some instruction, so that instruction will be in terms of text, and I am attaching some audio also there, and apart from audio I am also attaching some image. So this particular use case where I am taking this as an input, this falls under the category of multimodal input. Multi means many, model mean type of data. So these are many type of data, right? More than one. So here it is three. So this is an example of multimodal input. Now when we talk about output, so output can also be text, image, audio, video, code, right? And total outputs, the data type of the output generated can be either one or can be more than one, right? So if it is one, then it's a multimodal output. And whatever we have seen here, here also we have seen the example where the output is just one type of output getting generated, because we want to drill down to every possibility. That is why we have taken just one type of input and one type of output in one row, right? So when we have just one input, it is known as uni-model input, correct? And when we have just one output data type as generated as in the output, it is known as uni-model output. output. So these examples that we have seen in this slide is an example of unimodal input and unimodal output generation. But we can have, many combination in this. So what are those combinations? So it can be, so we have seen that unimodal input, unimodal output. This is what we have seen in previous slide. Then we can have unimodal input and multi-modal output. Then we can have multimodal input and unimodal output. Then we can have multimodal input and multimodal output. Now these combinations, so these are four combinations, right? So when we so these combination are known as GenAI model metrics. So let's take an example, multimodal input and unimodal output. So multimodal input, let's say I am giving text plus image plus audio as an input, and I just want to generate the text in the output. So that will be the example of multimodal input, unimodal output. Let's take an example of unimodal input and multimodal output. So in this case, we are just providing, let's say, text, and from that text in output, it is generating image as well as video, something like that. So that's the example of unimodal input and multimodal output. So any possibilities of input and generation will fall under any of these four categories, and these four categories are basically all together forms GenAI model metrics. So this is about GenAI model metrics. So this is what I was telling, right? So we have unimodal input and unimodal output that we have seen, right? Text to text. Example is Chat GPT. Text to image. So from prompt, we are generating images. Similarly, if we'll take the example of unimodal input and multimodal output, so we are providing text as an input or image as an input, and in output, it is generating image plus audio. Similarly, if we'll take one more example where we are just providing code as an input, and from code, it is generating text plus image, means code documentation and architectural diagram. So that is an example of unimodal input and multimodal output. Similarly, there are other possibilities which I have listed down in this slide. So, for example, multimodal input, multimodal output. Let's take this example. So, audio and text I am giving as an input, and it generate video plus audio voiceover. So, it is like generation of your talking avatar, right? So these are all possibilities that exist in generative AI. So just don't limit yourself in just thinking that generative AI is all about textual generation or taking text as an input, because that's the first thing that comes in mind, right? So generative AI is all about generation of new content. That new content can either be text, image, audio, video, code, or next gen capability generation. Okay, moving on to next slide. So this is an important slide. Uh, okay, now how we basically proceed is that so we basically decide our generative AI, generative AI track or generative AI domain based on output model or the output it generates. For example, if the output modality, so I'm writing as output modality. ठीक है, output modality, if output modality or output model or the output generated is text, so this is text. Now when it is text, the AI domain that comes in picture is NLP. natural language processing. So what is this? This is AI domain that is in picture, right? Similarly, when NLP is there in pictures, then we can have, architectures, right? So architecture can be the traditional, because NLP is used in traditional AI also, right? So when I'm talking about traditional AI, it is pre-Gen AI era, when the Gen AI was not invented. So that is what is referred by traditional AI. So traditional AI architectures are there. And similarly, in Gen AI, when we'll talk about Gen AI, so Gen AI architectures are there, right? So Gen AI architecture, when we talk Gen AI architecture, so those are mainly transformers. Transformers. Okay. So this is how we decide the domain, or this is how we decide the correct path in Gen AI learning, or the correct path in Gen AI world. When we are talking about text, then the AI domain that will come in picture is NLP, and Gen AI architecture that will come in picture will be transformers. And apart from that, I also okay. So from the transformers, the Gen AI models, MODELS wala models. So Gen AI model that comes in picture is LLM. Okay, so that's how it looks. So output modality is text. The AI domain, the related AI domain will be NLP, natural language processing, and traditional AI structure architecture. Right now, I'm not talking. But when we talk about Gen AI architecture, then the Gen AI, the most important Gen AI architecture involved is transformer, and the Gen AI models evolved from this Gen AI architecture. That is, the models that are built on transformers, using transformers, are LLMs. Okay, so this is how it looks, and that's what I have mentioned in this one slide. Similarly, if the text modality is image, then the domain, AI domain that comes in picture is computer vision. And so this is about traditional AI, which I will not explain here. But the Gen AI architecture, when we talk in that case, will be diffusion models, VAE, GAN. And when we talk about Gen AI MODEL model, they are known as image generation model, whereas in text, it was known as LLM. Similarly, it's for other output models, this is what how it looks. Okay, so this is about Gen AI uh, introduction, or Gen AI core. So we'll take a 10 to 15 minutes break. We will again, group up. And what I'm going to start, let me see what I have to start. So I have also, explained the concepts of NLP, but that is something, which you guys can also give it a try from your side. Nothing much. If you want me to take a session on NLP also, just let me know separately. I'll take one session on NLP also. But from in today's session, we will be discussing the LLM, large language models. So everything about large language models we are going to discuss. And then probably after that, yeah, okay. So after that, we will take prompt engineering. Okay. So let me start a timer for 15 minutes. You guys can, take a break for 15 minutes, and then we can, join in again after 15 minutes. 1 second. Okay, for me, for now, I'm just starting the timer for 10 minutes.